Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, December 5th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are the Death card in its reversal in combination with the King of Swords in its reversal. Let's talk a little bit about it, because what we're effectively seeing right now, how do we want to, there's a few things we need to talk about with this. I would not be surprised if this full moon right now feels a bit like a new moon. And the reason that we're effectively seeing that has to do with the energy that's currently surrounding. We've already got the center card. Sorry, we already got the center card out. It just entered. It just fell out of the deck, and so it's already bottom. It's not. We haven't lifted it, but we're gonna just hold on to that for a minute. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's a lot of that. It's a perfect example of this energy right now, which it has to do. It has to do with like working through the context of a lot of things to effectively navigate, or working into the context of working through something in a way that allows the space by which one is able to effectively articulate or define how one is trying to move forward. Now, one of the things that we see that is really important with energy like this, and I keep on pointing this out, Gemini full moon energy in Sagittarius season can do a lot of work on our own feelings of self-esteem. Okay? The reason that we potentially see that, there's a few reasons for that right now. One of them, okay, I want to describe to you the energy that we're currently seeing. Okay? We've got Jupiter retrograding in Cancer, which can create a lot of feelings of energetic isolation or frustration of the self. We then have, at the same time, Saturn that went station direct in Pisces. Now, the thing is, Neptune in Pisces is just fine. Saturn in Pisces can often feel like the space or place by which one feels awash with feelings, okay? And it's working through the understanding of the ability to effectively navigate the emotions in a way that feel like they're energetically productive. But it's often hard, right? Because sometimes, like I like to point out, like when Saturn activates in Pisces, so close to the meridian of Aries, it can sometimes feel like those energetic frustration points as it relates to having a lot of emotions and not necessarily knowing where one wants to put them. In the same modality that we're experiencing that, we have Mercury that is in retrograde, that is opening up, that was in retrograde, that's also opening up. But again, it's opening up with Saturn ahead of it. So it can sometimes feel like Sisyphusian efforts. It can feel like those modalities by which it feels like we're trying to do everything and we're not seeing the results of our energetic efforts. And in the same exact moment that all of that is happening, Venus is moving into Sagittarius, which can often create the ability of having distortions as it relates to overly comparing the self. So if you're feeling like this right now, I would like to remind you that it is the vibe. Everybody's feeling like that. And the ability to kind of be able to navigate and recognize that is how we can kind of work towards that feeling of energetic sustainability. I want you to make sure that you're navigating the emotions right now with a sense of proportionality to be able to communicate or articulate like what it is, like being able to convey the direction by which one is hoping to move those emotionality points to. Now, and this is the other thing that we're potentially seeing right now that can often create some moments of rigidness, because at the same time that I see all of that happening, we're also seeing that the energy themselves, like all of the energy that we were reading for yesterday, they're all going through, like there's a lot of energetic separation that we see right now as it relates to the emotions of the individuated energetic frequencies, right? We see a lot of the masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, being in that space of really wanting to have those emotional conversations. What do we see feminine right now? Feminine in the heart of pragmatism, almost like respectfully, now's not the time. You know what I mean? It's a lot of that type of energy. So like that's a lot of the work that we potentially see that could be creating even more feelings of energetic conflict. We've got non-binary energy that is working through feelings of energetic aloofness. So working through potentially a lot of hermit energy. So we've got here, right? We've got a lot, it's disparate energy. It's discombobulated, but the ability to effectively articulate upon the discombobulation instead of feeling energetically discombobulated can often be the pathwork by which we can find better ways to communicate. Now, this is having a big impact depending on where you find yourself on the frequency cycles. And we're going to start first by talking towards a lot of those moon relationships that we see were energetically coming together at this time. Now, what is significant about a lot of those moon relationships? Those moon relationships are effectively articulated upon, and I got to admit to this was happening since the time of Uranus stationing retrograde, right before the eclipse cycle that we had over the fall. These relationships are taking a very long time to come together. A lot of those relationships are only now hitting the talking phase. And why do we see that those relationships are effectively hitting the talking phase right now? Because that observation, right? These are relationships that are healing from pedestalization in past partnership, right? The modality or the experience that healthy relationship is the sustainable conveyance point of emotions, right? The emotions that effectively feel like they're there all the time. But rather, what sometimes happens with pedestalized partnership is someone either is like singing your praises or they're energetically condemning you, right? You're either up here or you're down there. And what can that often be indicative of? That can often be indicative of being the source of another person's projections, right? Because right, it's working through the lesson and the understanding that when we're working towards healthy relationship, we never pin the potentiality on the person within the relationship, but rather in the direction in relationality to where the relationship will go. And that sense of proportionality, we see even now that for some of those relationships, it wasn't due to a lack of care, right? It wasn't due to a lack of care that was potentially damaging those relationships, but an observation that we are effectively the custodians in relationality to what our care feels like to be experienced, right? When we understand that, then we start to be intentional, not just intentional in the fact of being able to recognize our feelings, but also in the understanding in terms of how another receives them. And that's why we see that for a lot of these relationships, that conscientiousness, that trepidation, if you will, the trepidation they're bringing into partnership is demarcated by the fact that they have been energetically hurt before, right? By the effect of the situations or circumstances by which I keep on getting these relationships, I keep on getting like these relationships that it's like that they're healing from all or nothing relationships, like energy, like I keep on getting like energy that's either too close or too far away, right? It's a lot of that. So that's why we keep on seeing. And what's beautiful about this is this whole time I've been trying to figure out the prioritization point in what's bringing these relationships together. And I keep on seeing the prioritization point in these relationships is a combination of what we saw, which was effectively the temperance relationships that were occurring prior to this energetic cycle. So those were the relationships that were coming together between the time of Uranus stationing retrograde up until the solstice period this summer, in combination with, those temperance relationships were built upon the mutual effort that pays off in big ways, right? Everything can be done so long as the work is mutual. That was a lot of the mutuality, the proportionality in those partnerships is incredible. the energy that came before them were the magician relationships, the authenticity that acts as a beacon to find counterpart. So they were navigating the space of being able to find the relationship that allowed them to feel like they were their most authentic self. These moon relationships are the combination of both of those energetic lessons, right? When we are able to be, it's not enough, right? It's not enough to be authentic if you're not intentional, right? Your authenticity is not enough of a reason, because you could be authentically terrible. You can be authentically terrible. Like, but when we're intentional, right? When we're energetically intentional with our authenticity, we become exceptional. And so that's why we see that for a lot of these relationships, doing that work and navigating upon those phases, right? These relationships, they know themselves. I keep on getting. They know themselves. They know themselves. They know their energetic phases. And it's even the space by which they don't try to, like, they come in, they articulate upon the phase that they find themselves in. They don't project that phase onto those around the self. So for a lot of the energy doing that work, like that's why, and it was beautiful too, because if you're a tarot nerd like me and you like to see the shape of the spreads, there was effectively like a river that we were finding that was in the spread that we recently saw. But that river, the reason that river was so beautiful was because that is the energetic easement, is what we're seeing. The energetic easement in terms of like what they find in those relationships, how easy it can be with someone that is able to articulate upon how they're feeling, instead of energetically projecting the feeling onto those around, outside or around the self. And it's like it's a little bit of easier said than done. But that space, that is effectively why, and I keep on getting, at the same time that all of that is potentially happening, what do we have that's occurring for some of those new relationships? Energy from the past. Remember when I said they're healing from feast or famine relationships? Right? Here comes a lot of those, like I wouldn't be surprised if some of those relationships are contending with energy, right? And I didn't even like this is the energy that's been in solitude, potentially another person being like, oh, but we were just taking a break. But it's the space of understanding there are no breaks. There are no breaks in healthy relationship, right? You don't step out of partnership to sort something out. It's the work by which you say like a walk, not a week. And so for a lot of the energy, that articulation point of even recognizing experiences like that, like that's what we keep on seeing is potentially feeling so frustrating for the relationship, because it's the amplification of someone. And again, it's also the continuation of understanding. The admission of feelings doesn't heal things. And we've had this happen. If this sounds familiar, this is the lesson that comes through every time Saturn, because Saturn keeps dipping back into Pisces. That's why it's so hard for those with Pisces placements every time this happens. The admission of feelings does not heal things unless the admission of feelings come with directions to attach to them. Because if not, we're just divesting our emotions onto another because they feel like an energetic burden to us. That brings us to the temperance relationships. And these temperance relationships were coming together between the time of, as I mentioned, Uranus in retrograde up until the solstice period that we had this summer. Center card for today's spread, it's transverse. Ooh. 10 of Swords in its transverse. 10 of Swords in its transverse. And what do we effectively see with that 10 of Swords in its transverse? We see a lot of that energy that is effectively, and it's interesting too, because I was reading on this before. The ability to articulate to counterpart, the observation of change in the best way possible, right? And it's a continuation of the journey that we talked about, by which we never move away from our manifestation goals for counterpart, because it's the continuation of the understanding that when we say I'll do anything for you, like that can often too easily become look what I did for you, right? but rather the changes that we make in positive directions, right? That feel like they move us to our the self that we aspire for, but sometimes we cannot effectively reach within our own self, right? That's what we talk about with healthy counterpart inspiring us in the best ways possible, because it allows for that observation in relationality to how we're working to grow or to change, right? We're seeing those adaptability points. We're understanding and observing them within the self. And I keep on hearing that these are the relationships that are potentially regaling each other, right? They're regaling each other with they're regaling each other with potentially the experience of the past self, like navigating something and being like, this is what the past self would have done, but almost articulating and identifying the difference between the past and the present self. And that observation or that recollection, that ability to effectively perceive, right? Perceive the profound changes that have energetically occurred. Everything that we observe there, it feels, I keep on getting, it feels energetically beautiful. But the reason it feels energetically beautiful is because they're articulating to one another what that energetic beauty is, right? It's like they're talking to each other about how they become energetically beautified. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, there's something I keep on getting. There's something really incredible, because I keep on seeing that it's the energy that effectively amplifies. I keep on seeing it's not the fact that they say that they would do anything for each other, but rather they say, like, it's like the energy that says they do the hardest thing, which is allowing the context of being able to reach towards their highest version of self, right? I told you, like, changing in the best way possible. Now, fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread, we have here the 8 of Swords in its upright, in combination with the 8 of Cups in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about this energy that we're observing, because the 8 of Swords in its upright with the 8 of Cups in its upright, it talks to us a lot. This is what I meant. There's auric cleansing that's happening right now for the energy deep within divine union. And the auric cleansing that we're potentially seeing that's happening for a lot of that energy deep within divine union is, and I told you, like, this is what we see with Gemini. Like, this is what we see with Gemini energy, right? Gemini energy, that effectively the Gemini full moon energy in Sagittarius season, right? The recognition or the understanding of being able to energetically perceive something in a way that you haven't perceived it before. Those conversations or those explanations. I keep on seeing the space by which we recognize that we've reached a point of maturation is when we feel energetically comfortable, not feeling the need to dispel others of their energetic misconceptions upon us, is what I keep on seeing. Because for a lot of the energy, working through those modalities or experiences, those spaces or places by which another person, like I keep on, like I remember how I said that for some of these relationships, that observation, like that adaptability point in being able to articulate to another their own feeling of energetic frustration, particularly and especially in relationality to how much they themselves have grown or changed. Everything we see in a lot of those modalities and experiences are being articulated by the energy that is able to define the fact that I keep on hearing they've been in relationship before, but they've never been centered in the relationship like they currently are. And I keep on getting, if you move towards a relationship by which you know is energetically healthy for the self, and things start, again, it starts feeling really surreal, right? That surrealness, as it were, is often the amplification point of maturation. This is why we often talk about the fact that maturing is a surreal experience, because surrealness is the experience of encountering something that you haven't encountered before. So for a lot of the energy, it's like working through energetic surrealness, but in the same space by which they're working through the surrealness, they're finding their own composure, right? They're finding their own stabilization point. And so for a lot of the energy doing that work, I keep on getting I keep on getting these experiences by which I just keep on hearing the same thing when I read deep into that cycle, because it's a space by which they say, if they welcome a healthy conversation with another, but they don't chase after an uncomfortable confrontation, there's a lot of that energy that feels encouraged or feels energetically stabilized, specifically and particularly because they identify and recognize, like they understand. Like, I feel like it's like the energy that understands like what it means to be able to come into a state of maturity in relationality to letting go of energetic drama or something that doesn't make sense outside of partnership. So there's a lot of that energy working in that way. And it's like, I keep on getting like working through processing that, but also feeling very, very stabilized in the space by which they're working to process it. Continuing to get clarification between our Death card in its reversal in combination with our King of Swords in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Six of Pentacles in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about the Six of Pentacles, because the Six of Pentacles in its reversal speaks specifically to us in relationality to working through the context of what feels energetically sustainable or what feels energetically viable. Now, the one thing I keep on getting with a lot of those moon relationships right now is the conversation. Like, I keep on seeing the conversation that results in the expression. I keep on getting the expression of a lot of emotionality, right? The ability to effectively convey like a robust density of emotion, right? Working through those pathworks or experiences by which we understand. And I keep on hearing the ability to recognize the emotions that we energetically resolve within versus the work that we do outside of the self. And I keep on getting that those experiences or those situations, that ability to express that, everything that we potentially see that's happening there. And I keep on, and I want to describe this, like, I almost feel like some of those relationships, you know, they're witnessing, like they're witnessing an energetic cycle of the past coming back towards them. And I keep on getting, especially if they're healing from those feast and famine relationships, especially if they're healing from those experiences by which there was either a lot of something or energetically nothing, right? The ability, I keep on hearing the same lesson, which is effectively like a walk, not a week, right? The observation in being able to energetically articulate upon something in such a way that it feels energetically sustainable. And I keep on getting that for a lot of those relationships, they're like, and I want to describe this, like, this is what we mean about a healing journey. Like there's some things you just can't tolerate once you're on a healing journey. And that's the energy that, like, I keep on getting, like, almost observing, like feeling like the feeling of like the feeling of energetic frustration there, you know, the feeling of energetic frustration in relationality to how do I describe it, the I keep like it's the same thing I keep on seeing, because I feel like there in the same moment that some of this energy is finally getting into the space by which they feel that they're moving towards their healing. It's like here comes somebody with a lot of feelings, is what we keep on seeing. But and that's the observation, right? Because it's a difference between the feelings, and this is what we talk about. Feelings don't fix things, right? Our job is not to hold, it's not, our job is not to retain our emotions and say, oh, I'm saving these, like, I'm saving these emotions. No, I can't tell you about them because I might need to fix them. I might need to fix something with them later, right? Like, it's like that's not what feelings are for, right? Feelings are not glue. Feelings are the music. Feelings are the music that should be there throughout, right? It's the feelings that are the symphony. But when another person, right, when another person isn't in the space of being comfortable with their emotions, you often start to have those modalities by which it feels like the emotions are like glue, right? They're not there all the time. They're kind of like, it's like the space by which another person brings them out only in the space by which they're trying to fix something. And that often, I keep on seeing, like, that often can create that moment of energy. And this is what we have to recognize, right? You can't be in a space by which you say you only bring your feelings out to fix things and then be surprised that you're in a relationship that's constantly breaking, right? Because you've literally articulated the conditions by which you're going to arrive at a broken relationship, right? It's very important. This is why we talk about the ability to be in touch with our feelings is so fundamental to having a healthy relationship. Because if not, like, that observation of being like, yeah, I keep these emotions for a rainy day. Like, if you say you only keep your emotions for a rainy day, like, don't be surprised if energy around you is constantly in the space by which they're in that efflusiveness, right? So that's why we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, being able to recognize and identify, like, what that is. That's why I feel like the smoothness, right? They're identifying that simplicity or that energetic ease that's potentially occurring that allows something to be energetically possible. So there's a lot of pragmatism in these relationships, but I like it because it's the pragmatism that isn't energetically, like, it's the pragmatism that doesn't allow for that space of, like, nothing and then everything, is what we keep on seeing. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Swords and its reversal in combination with our 10 of Swords in its transverse. Can I get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Judgment card in its reversal. And so the Judgment card in its reversal, what does the Judgment card in its reversal work us through? The Judgment card in its reversal recognizes and identifies, helps us to be able to navigate what it is that we are energetically working upon. And everything I keep on seeing in relationality to that, this is bringing us back to those temperance relationships. Temperance relationships right now, it's feeling, there's a lot of, I keep on describing it, there's a lot of, it's cozy energy is what I keep on getting. There's something about those temperance relationships right now that feels energetically cozy. And I keep on getting the reason that it feels energetically cozy is because how do I describe this best? That work, like that understanding or that recognition of being able to effectively articulate in relationality to working upon something. And I keep on getting the identification point on energetically working upon something in such a way that the energy is being able to articulate and recognize what it is and how they're changing for one another in the best way possible. Because everything we keep on seeing in those relationships is I keep on seeing that for a lot of these relationships, and it has to do, I keep on getting, it has a lot to do with navigating through or working through the context of the past. I keep on getting that for a lot of those relationships, working upon those experiences of the past, but not just working upon the experiences of the past, but being able to articulate and amplify not just the past, but how much one has changed in the wake between the past and the present. I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, that ability of healing from trauma, that was what I meant about Chiron and Eris. Like we're like the hard part with Chiron and Eris being in such close proximity is feeling the frustration point or working through the experience by which you're not only these are relationships that are not only experiencing the weight of the past from in the moment, but feeling doubly triggered in relationality to past counterpart, potentially having had to navigate something that feels energetically similar. And what do we see that's effectively happening there? There's a lot of that energy that works through the experience of being able to talk about the fact that when we're changing, right, when we're changing in relationship, it feels energetically joyous. It's those experiences by which we're able to amplify and articulate how energetically excited we are in the space of those changes. So for a lot of those relationships, I feel like the cozy, right, the cozy energy that I'm seeing there has to do with the ability to speak to each other so much. Like I keep on hearing like the ability to talk. I almost feel like the gift that they're receiving is the ability to talk about the past in a way that it doesn't energetically hurt as much, is what I keep on seeing. And that gift of not being, the ability to talk about the past in a way that doesn't hurt so much, is the objectivity by which they're able to observe something. And even, and I keep on hearing like that is the accomplishment point, is what I keep on seeing. The ability to look back upon the past and not feeling, I keep on hearing like not feeling emotionality, but being able to have the ability to look at something with a sense of objectivity. And I keep on getting, it's not the fact that they don't have feelings upon it, but their feelings are not reactive, right? They're observational. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Swords in its transverse in combination with our 8 of Cups in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 5 of Swords in its upright. And what are we effectively seeing with the 5 of Swords in its upright? The 5 of Swords in its upright talks to us effectively about, it works us through the condition or the observation of being able to identify and recognize. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of energetic shifting that we potentially see that's happening right now. And a lot of that shifting that we see that's happening right now is the observation of the energy being able to amplify and articulate upon the like this is what's harder for the magician relationships right now. And I need to walk you guys through this, because the magician relationships, you'll recall, came together because they were able to find authenticity with one another, right? Never are we like the ability to feel like one is in a relationship where one can be one's authentic self is beautiful. And I see a lot of those relationships that are flourishing in that modality or experience. But the flourishment, I keep on getting, when you're flourishing and then you're navigating situations outside the self, when someone says, can't you go back to the past way of, like, can't you go back to the way that you used to be, right? That's why it sounds like, I told you, they're navigating surreal experiences, because it's almost like the space by which another person says, I miss the old you. And another person saying, you mean the version of the self that wasn't flourishing? That's weird. That's disconcerting, right? But you sometimes, this is what we often talk about with like the wildness of a maturation process. Imagine like this is what we talk about with Saturn returns. You know why Saturn returns are so wacky? It's like those modalities by which you're flourishing, and you can't help energetically flourishing because you know that it's in the direction that feels like it's best for you. And then you have those modalities by which another person goes, can you please stop flourishing in here? Your flourishing is making me a little uncomfortable. And you go, what? You go, what? No, right? It's the observation of understanding that working in proportionality to that, right? As long as if we're flourishing in ways that do not harm others, right? And this is what we talk about. As long as we're flourishing in ways that do not cause harm in others, and this is often the modality or experience of that, then it's the space by which we support each other in the journey of that work, right? It's the identification point in the space by which we try to effectively articulate that. But it's not easy, right? It's difficult. It's energetically hard. And I keep on seeing that the pain point of that, and I keep on seeing for some of the relationships, holding empathy is like, when I see the empathy here, it is literally like, it's almost like the energy that is trying to navigate a situation, and they see what's happening and they're holding trauma on it. It's like trauma is being created in that moment. But the trauma, like I keep on getting, like the trauma that's energetically created in that space is the amplification or the articulation point of working through something in such a way that it pains the self to see it, right? It's often those that this is what we talk about. This is why Saturn returns can sometimes feel so devastating. Because we can't navigate, when we're energetically working towards something, it's not something within our own, it's not within our own power. It's the observation of moving closer towards the self. So I feel like there's a lot of that energy, and I feel like I see that energy working through finding support in those experiences. But the hard part about it is, it's like I keep on getting, it's working through the energetic support of it, and at the same time I keep on like this. We need a word for it, because it's the energy that is just experiencing trauma and transmuting it in the same instant. Like it's literally it's like I just keep on saying, like, the trauma comes in and immediately transmuted. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna, that's what we keep on seeing there. So there's and what does that usually feel like? I'm not going to let it get to me, right? You know what I mean? Because it's like, but why is the energy saying I'm not going to let it get to them? They're not saying that they're not going to let it get to them because they're not bothered by it, but they're recognizing what is in their power. What is in their power to energetically be bothered about, right? That's what's so hard about it. Continuing to get clarification, moving back to those moon relationships between these double eights, the 8 of Cups and the 8 of Swords in its upright. Whew, we got the 7 of Wands in its upright. So the 7 of Wands in its upright, 7 of Wands in its upright talks to us a lot about, Seven of Wands in its upright talks to us a lot about the observation or the recognition of, how do I describe this best? I feel like the moon relationships, look at this. This is what I mean. A lot of these moon relationships right now, I would not be surprised if these are circumstances or situations by which, I see situations where, and this is why we don't do something like this. Somebody says, it's over, and another person comes back and says, I was just saying that, right? And this is why we keep on hearing, that's what's happening. They're healing from hyperbole, which is the articulation point. I keep on getting healing from hyperbole is one of the most important things that we have to do in partnership. Because when we're hyperbolic, right? When we're hyperbolic, it's often those experiences or those mentalities by which we feel a lot of amplification of emotion. And here's the thing about it. There are certain circumstances or situations that we can't help being hyperbolic about, right? There are always those modalities or experiences by which a little hyperbole is often like is something that we carry with a bit of understanding. But the space by which I keep on hearing the space by which we don't carry hyperbole into the emotions that we have in relationship, that observation that when we are being hyperbolic and we cannot be in a space by which we have counterpart. We can't be in a space by which we have counterpart. And we say to counterpart to trust one another, but then say some of the things I say to you will be hyperbolic, because that modality of having to sort through, and we don't realize how damaging or how traumatizing hyperbole can be, the ability to have to energetically sort through what another person says, like what another person means versus what they say when they are being mean, becomes the damaging point in the relationship, right? And often, and this is what we talk about healing from energetic trauma, right? Like that ability, like the ability of feeling a lot of energetic emotions, like working through those emotionalities or those energetic feelings. But then, like I keep on hearing, like the ability to feel our feels, and here's the thing about it, that we can heal things in a moment, right? It's okay to be hyperbolic when you heal them in the moment. So the moment you say something, and then like we have those moments, right? You have those moments you say something, go, I didn't mean that, right? That is often even indicative of a healing moment. Because I told you that sometimes the way that we understand that healing occurs is not the fact that we stop doing something, but we start closing the gap, right? The identification point of our own energetic self-awareness or our own energetic tendencies. And so that's the way, like, I feel like for some of those relationships, if these are situations by which there was something that happened that another person took seriously, and now after a long period of time, another person says, oh, I was being hyperbolic. Another person was saying the gap is too wide, right? You don't leave someone hanging on hyperbole, is what I keep on seeing, right? Because when you're actually being hyperbolic, I keep on hearing when you're actually being hyperbolic, you immediately compose yourself, right? Like that's what hyperbole is. Hyperbole is the ability to articulate something and then immediately snap back into it. That is actually that's why it's called that's why it's called hyperbolic. It's hyperbolic because it's quick. It's quick to come back into position. Hyperbolic. So the quickness by which you say something and then you immediately pull it back. That's what hyperbole is. But there are those that will say something that they mean with complete seriousness. And then you can't have a gap of years and months and then say, oh, I didn't energetically mean that, because that's not hyperbole, because the most important word in hyperbole is hyper. Hyper is fast. So this is what's happening. This is what's healing in these moon relationships. Clarification between the Six of Pentacles in its reversal with the Judgment card in its reversal. It's the Sun card, the clarification of what hyperbole is. So the clarification of hyperbole, you can't say you're being hyperbolic when weeks and months and years have passed, because that's not hyperbolic. Hyperbolic literally means the ability of saying something and then immediately going, I didn't mean that, right? Like, and that's the healing, because it allows for the context by which we all say things like that. Right? We all have those moments where, like, I keep on getting, like, the pressure valve goes, but we pull it, like the hyperbolic, like the word itself shows us the action, which is out and then pulled back in just as quickly. So that is what is happening right now, because I see some situations where someone from the past is potentially trying to come back to someone claiming that they were being hyperbolic, and another person is articulating and saying hyperbole happens in an instant. It doesn't take the span of weeks, days, months, or years. Continuing to get clarification between our Judgment card in its reversal and our Five of Swords in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify? King of Wands in its upright. King of Wands in its upright. So the modality or the experience, of working through something in such a way. And this is what I keep on getting for a lot of the relationships right now. For a lot of these relationships, a lot of these relationships that are working through the experience, like the understanding or the adaptability point in relationality to working through something right now. I feel like there's something really I feel like there's something really energetically significant and important in relationality to working through the experience, the circumstance, or the situation of the relationships that are moving deeper into divine union, particularly those temperance partnerships. I feel like a lot of those temperance relationships are building into the ability to talk to one another like that. That is effectively what's happening here. Because remember, like the ability I keep on seeing, they are getting back into the space of being able to speak to each other hyperbolically again. And why is it? Because I keep on hearing hyperbole, like hyperbole is a gift, right? And when we're being hyperbolic, it can I keep on hearing, like, when we're being hyperbolically playful, it often allows the understanding. Hyperbole becomes delightful when we know each other, right? Because then hyperbole becomes a gift, the ability to effectively say something because you know it'll get an energetic rise out of someone, but then immediately be like, you know what I mean? That's what I effectively see here. And so that's what's happening. And so what I keep on seeing is that's what's been happening right now. The temperance relationships are being hyperbolic to each other, right? When they're identifying something in relationality to the past version of self, I feel like they're saying things in that way to get a rise out of each other, is what I keep on seeing. But I keep on getting it's energetically playful. Like they're using hyperbole in the healthy way, because I keep on getting that playfulness that we're identifying and recognizing there. I keep on hearing it's like this, the energy that says, I've earned the right to be hyperbolic because you are my symphony, is what I keep on seeing. Like that's the energy that says, like, to one another, that gift of hyperbole that we have to one another is beautiful when we know one another, because again, it's the space by which we feel the love of another person that knows us so well that they can be very energetically hyperbolic towards us. This brings us to the energy deep within divine union, clarification between our 5 of swords in its upright and the 7 of wands in its upright. We've got the Ace of Cups in its upright. So the Ace of Cups in its upright. The Ace of Cups in its upright. Sorry, apologies. It's interesting. It's in its reversal, but I said upright. And the reason I keep on, and because the thing is, like, I like to point this out sometimes, an Ace of Cups is an Ace of Cups. Like an Ace of Cups is an Ace of Cups. It's never bad to see an Ace of Cups there. But an Ace of Cups can sometimes be in the navigating through or working. And this is what's happening right now for a lot of those magician relationships, is working through another person's efflusiveness, is what I keep on getting, right? And it's a conversation in relationality to working through or recognizing energetic fluidity. And I keep on getting that a lot of the work that we effectively see or articulate in those experiences has to do with the observation and recognition that our emotions are gifts. Our emotions are the stuff that dreams are made of, so long as we put them in the right place, is what I keep on getting. So long as we put those emotions in the right places, right? The ability to kind of move things into, like, what's like amazing. Like, I've got all these emotions. Let me go create something incredible with them, right? Like being in a space of healthiness with emotions is not qualified by the capacity by which you have them, but the productiveness by which you put them in the right spaces. Is so. And you know this. You'll notice you'll sometimes meet somebody. You're like, this is not the place to bring those emotions. That wrong location. I'm afraid that's not the right place for them. So I feel like for a lot of the energy, working through situations or circumstances like that, that ability to effectively articulate. And I keep on seeing it's hard, because remember when I said it's hyperbolic energy right now, and the hyperbolic energy that is happening for the energy deep within divine union is the observation of being quick to ascertain something that one needs to work on within the self versus something that another person needs to work on. And I keep on seeing some of those magician relationships being like, it is not my responsibility to fix another person's heart, right? Like those modalities or those experiences by which we energetically work towards things, or we work through those energetic frustration points. We work through those modalities or experiences by which we navigate energetic hardship, or we work through points of rigor. I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, the ability to effectively feel like they're moving towards what they know is energetically best for the self, and observing situations wherein another person seems to be carrying hard feelings about it. Like that's the energy that almost articulates to counterpart how much that hurts. But they're articulating to each other how much it hurts because they're calibrating and reminding each other that they don't deserve it, right? When we're working towards our best version of self and another person holds hardship to that, right? We often feel like it's almost like that space by which it's easier to over internalize it because we wish that there was something within us that we could change to make that better. And I keep on seeing that the counterpart is like, this is the energy, the temperance energy moving into the energy moving into divine union, saying, hey, you have a right to be upset about that. It's not okay. And the observation of recognizing and identifying it, it's allowing for that sense of fortification. But I feel like it's fortifying because it's energetically affirming in the energy that's like, it's like the energy that's almost looking for something to effectively change in the process of that. And another person reaffirming to them and stating to them, they're saying, if there's something that you could change, right, I would energetically tell you. Right? And almost potentially having others that are reaffirming that same work in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Sun card and the King of Wands and its upright. We've got here the Emperor in its reversal. So for a lot of the energy right now, the Emperor in its reversal, talks to us or works through circumstances and situations by which we identify and recognize. I keep on getting, how do I describe this best? The Emperor in its reversal is often the amplification or the articulation point in relationality to understanding. And I keep on seeing, there's no control in healthy relationship, right? And this is often why, like when we start to heal our controlling tendencies, we start to build into healthier relationship constructs. Because, and it has a lot to do, this has been coming through a lot, the difference between love and coveting, right? Because love is the space by which you feel that gift in terms of wanting to see another person grow. It's the identification point of feeling the joy of another person energetically flourishing. That is the definition of love. And that's why love is often the space by which we honor each other's choices, right? But there are those who will energetically covet things. And when we energetically covet things, we can't call it love, because coveting is usually the articulation of wanting to energetically control things, right? It's the observation of not necessarily feeling like it's not the space by which one is trying to see how good it can be, but working through the fear of something energetically changing, right? So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, that identification point, that recognition of potentially, and I keep on seeing like these moon relationships, like I keep on hearing like somebody, like especially if there was something there, like I keep on getting, if there was some kind of situation where another person, like they moved away from a relationship and someone said something devastating, and now they're trying to energetically return after a long period of time and trying to articulate upon the fact that they were being hyperbolic. I keep on seeing that the energy is referring to the definition of hyperbole, which is true hyperbole is the articulation of energetically saying something and then pulling it, like moving into the space of energetically speaking upon it, right? It's the space by which we recognize and identify that. And it's not the space by often, and the hard part about that is it's not the fact that it isn't true, right? Like even in the space by which we sometimes say things that are hyperbolic, but then we don't effectively come into the space of correcting them. That's why we work to resolve that, because that is the shape of trauma forming, right? This is often why, and this is why it's so important that we work to correct this, because often, like in those moments when we're feeling energetically devastated and we say something, like the ability of another person not to realize the fact that we are articulating that modality from a place of hurt, but rather to be able to amplify and articulate to another upon the experience or circumstance or situation by which we work to energetically resolve that. I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations and circumstances, the ability, I keep on hearing, it's not the fact that they're not finding hyperbole in these new relationships, but the ability of the energy to immediately, like I keep on hearing, like the difference between, like, I keep on seeing like the energy understands like a healthy snapping, right? Which is the space by which we have the, like I keep on hearing, and it's like it's the conversation of saying like this is what we talk about, like being in a healthy relationship isn't like being a robot. It doesn't create the space by which you can't have any kind of moment or modality by which you feel energetically frustrated, but it's like it's working towards the ability of finding one's own composure just as quickly. And so I keep on seeing that this is the energy that's very aware and very intentional. And even in those modalities that the emotions get the better of them, they immediately, right? They immediately come into the modality by which they work to energetically correct upon them. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Wands in its upright in combination with our Ace of Cups in its reversal. We've got here the Four of Wands in its reversal. So the Four of Wands in its reversal speaks to us a lot about working through the energetic frustrations of, and I need to point this out, the energy that we're experiencing right now is very discombobulated. If you're experiencing that, you're not the only person going through it. Discombobulation is often what happens in the space that Saturn comes out of retrograde before Mercury. And it's very easy when things are discombobulated to get hyperbolic, is what I keep on getting. It's very easy. It's very easy when things feel discombobulated to become hyperbolic. So that ability or that recognition point in being able to recognize and identify the difference. I keep wondering, recognize and identify the force of feeling by which we work to energetically resolve something that we're feeling energetically frustrated upon, versus the ability to effectively not let something get the best of us. I keep on seeing like allowing those spaces by which we're able to effectively be energetically intentional. And I keep on hearing like, don't get frustrated at others' discombobulation. It's not directed to the self. Everybody's experiencing it right now. And the ability for us to effectively kind of move through something like in the most effective way, like that's what effectively allows the possibility by which we're able to energetically resolve or work towards something in a way that feels like it's most sustainable. Final card for today's spread between the Emperor in its reversal in combination with the Four of Wands in its reversal. We've got here the Magician in its reversal. So the Magician in its reversal, the Magician in its reversal really speaks to us of circumstances and situations by which we identify, articulate, and define what it is that we're trying to do effectively. And the thing about it, I need to kind of stress this too, particularly and especially when we are going through energetic, like I want to describe this like the space by which we're working to do something better is often most easily amplified by being able to kind of sort through what feels like energetically convoluted versus what often creates the most effective direction to get something done. And I feel like the problem with this energy right now is I would not be surprised if you're going through a lot of if you're going through like a lot of circumstances or situations that feel unnecessarily complicated, is what I keep on getting. But I keep on seeing that adaptability point, like the ability to effectively smooth something out or smooth something over. Like I feel like there's a lot of that energy that is effectively in the point by which they're just like, and I keep on getting like the important thing about energy like we're experiencing now is that it can bring a lot of the feelings from the past coming back to the surface. But that ability of recognizing and identifying, like the ability to kind of observe the past and then to allow it to effectively help one find one's own energetic sense of resolve in relationality to something that you're working on doing in a better way. Like that is the nice thing about energy in the space that we find ourselves now, because that ability to effectively identify and work through something is, I keep on seeing like it's not over internalizing, but it's also not projecting, right? It's like looking and identifying what it energetically needs to get there. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now. Yeah, especially with the World card. And it's interesting too, because I don't know if you noticed, but like as soon as I reached kind of the end of this reading, like I started feeling like a lot of this like tightness in the throat chakra. But like the thing you have to understand is, you know, there's something important. There's something really important that we see. And I was pointing this out, especially with this Gemini, like the Gemini energy in Sag season. It can create those modalities or those experiences by which we feel the desire to energetically compare. Comparison is an illusion, right? The ability to energetically compare things. Like, why would we ever look at something from a point of comparison? Because when we're trying to compare things, we're not working towards exceptional. And I know how hard that is. I know how hard that is in energy like we're experiencing right now. Don't let yourself get caught in some kind of like space by which you're working, either comparing, like looking at yourself now to like looking at a past version of self, or feeling like how others perceive you now versus who you know yourself to be. Because that's the only thing that we see in relationality to the energy that we're experiencing right now. If you're feeling like that, I want you to see how far you've come. All right. I don't want you getting mad at yourself in terms of how far you have to go. I want you to be working on writing down. I put this in the Mystic Meditations article, putting down your accomplishments, being able to articulate and identify what those breakthroughs are, allowing those observations to fortify the energetic direction in relationality to what you're aspiring to do. Like I keep on seeing the hard part is about this is like, especially with Saturn, like the timing of Saturn coming out of retrograde, you know what I mean? And that's what I meant about like sometimes like some planets coming out of retrograde are easier than others. And Saturn, Saturn coming out of retrograde, like at a time like this, can often make us feel like we're way behind. So don't allow that to effectively overwhelm you. Allow it to kind of allow it to reaffirm or build into your own sense of energetic composure, particularly and especially in relationality to how you're working to do something in a bigger way, right? Don't get frustrated. Like don't get frustrated on the past. Get resolved in terms of what is energetically ahead of you. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I'll never slide into your inbox and tell you I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personals today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Sun card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Judgment card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive if you are a monthly member. If you become a founding member, you'll have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the archive. You'll also have access to, as a founding member, the opportunity of not only having a discounted rate on the full year's worth of classes, you'll also have access to a complimentary mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I like to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know, I also want to invite you guys personally to a special retreat that we'll be hosting this August to study the tarot in the cradle by which we've discovered the tarot was originally discovered. We will be going to Italy on August 8th through 13th to be able to do a deep dive into the tarot, but also to understand the significance of the culture at the time by which we discovered the tarot in that locationality. I hope to see you guys there. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life, and you can find more information on that over on my stack. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again